Well, thank you very much, Justice Bradley, for that warm introduction and reminding me about something I've spent 25 years trying to erase from history. And yes, there are photographs aplenty at that time. Can I welcome everybody to Queensland? My deep apologies for not turning on what is normally a glorious time of year. For those of you Victorians, including my good mate Stuart Wood, it's still better than what you'd be getting at home. To the others, please enjoy a magnificent city that is on the cusp of something very, very special. I'm genuinely pleased tonight and honoured to give this address. And I won't go through the list of dignitaries, but I do have to acknowledge a few of my team and aspiring team members. My Deputy Leader, Jared Blay, who you heard from this afternoon. There is no better conviction politician in the building than Jared, and I'm so proud to have him as the Deputy. Thank you to Sam O'Connor, our youngest member of the Shadow Cabinet, one of the sharpest minds and indeed another Gold Coast MP. And to two aspiring members of the state team, Amanda Stoker and Nelson Savan. I can't wait for something special if we stay diligent and focused and united heading into October. The talent that awaits the people of Queensland is something that we should all be excited by. One of the difficulties in modern politics is the inability to have in-depth and engaging contributions like this one. Regrettably, the days of Menzies being able to gather around the newsman of the day and be able to sprinkle the wisdom and have engaging, in-depth conversations are all but over. And the days of town hall meetings where people would flock to listen to politicians are few and far between. But tonight I have half an hour and a captive audience, an engaged one, and I intend to make the most of it because governance matters. And in the last 3.5 years, we've sought to chart a new course for this state. And one of the things I've done is go around listening to Queenslanders, and in fact, the Shadow Health Minister and I, Ros Bates, have now done 39 Queensland Health Crisis Town Halls, where we go into a room like this and we listen to people and we give them a vote and a voice and an opportunity to chart not only justice for themselves but for a better health system. But the opportunity to do this is rare. Outside the formal set-piece events of election campaigns, there are next to no opportunities for this to occur. I'm very conscious that the society is a non-partisan body and you don't have party political allegiances, and it is not for me tonight to be able to step into that realm. What I will do, though, is take the opportunity to share what I view as the importance of governance in this nation and the importance of bodies like this to ensure that the body politic gets an opportunity to chart the institutions and the respect for them. Tonight, I want to honour the society, the people who are here, and indeed the person who it is named after. And in that warm introduction, the history that is Sir Samuel Griffith cannot be understated for our nation and our state. And with the exception of this society, I don't believe that Sir Samuel gets the opportunity and the respect he has deserved for his contribution. Sir Samuel served as Chief Justice of Queensland for a decade before he was appointed as the first Chief Justice of the High Court in 1903. He was twice Premier of the Colony of Queensland, and he held a number of ministerial appointments at various times, including the Attorney General, Secretary for Public Instruction and Secretary for Public Works. He has a unique role in criminal law reform, and that role has had a global impact right here from Queensland. Very soon after being appointed as Chief Justice of the Colony, he set out the draft of a comprehensive code of criminal law for Queensland. That code was enacted as the Criminal Code Act 1898 and is still one of the principal statutes of this state. Griffith's Criminal Code was the inspiration for Western Australia, Northern Territory, Papua New Guinea, Nigeria, the former Rhodesia, the Solomon Islands, and a number of other Pacific and African jurisdictions, right here from Queensland. Tonight I seek to honour his legacy by speaking on 4 topics. These are not issues that come to the front and centre of people's minds, but they are issues that matter, and they point to the direction of a successful contemporary government and the course that should be charted. First, I want to use this august body as an appropriate forum for me to affirm myself and my party's ironclad commitment to the rule of law and the Westminster parliamentary system that all citizens of Australia enjoy, and I suspect take a little too much for granted. Globally, we live in very challenging times. I'm not the first to observe that it looks and feels a lot like the 1930s. Large-scale war has broken out in continental Europe. The atrocities that were perpetrated in Gaza on October 7 last year continue to reverberate around the globe, and there is a continued growing sense of insecurity in our region. It is against this backdrop that I say we must never lose sight of one of the great achievements of the Enlightenment and the development of the British legal system that we've been so fortunate to inherit here in Australia, and that is the rule of law. Furthermore, the rule of law necessitates a separation of powers, the separate vesting and the exercise of the legislative, the executive and judicial power. Now, of course, we don't have pure separation of powers in Australia, and we have to acknowledge under Westminster a system that we have inherited, and the best system there is, that the ministry is drawn from the party that holds the greatest number of seats. However, I firmly believe that our parliamentary system must better reflect the needs of contemporary society. And since assuming the role of Leader of the Opposition, I've become increasingly concerned about the capacity of our Legislative Assembly, and that is a unicameral Legislative Assembly, to do what people expect and, more importantly, what they deserve. While fundamental reform is challenging, I believe that the first step in the process lies in the Budget Committee process and making that more effective, more democratic and a hell of a lot more inquisitive. As part of the annual budgetary process, there are 7 committees, and they are constituted by members from all parties, chaired by a government member, and the hearings should allow the opportunity for ministers and senior mandarins to be probed and tested and questioned about where money is spent. In Queensland, it has become a protection racket for weak ministers. My concern is this: the estimates process has truly run off the rails. What was once about scrutinising has become about a media cycle. The protection racket for the executive has become business as usual. These underperforming ministers are shielded from scrutiny, and government chairs wind down the clock rather than wind up the scrutiny. What this means is the public is no better informed about where their taxes are spent, about transparency, about accountability, and about a government's agenda and vision for the day. The system is broken and needs repair. And tonight, it is my pleasure to announce to you that we will be reforming the estimates process ahead of the first one if we are given the opportunity to govern in October 2024. I have not offered a prescription as to exactly how it has to occur, but I have a few firm starting points, a few non-negotiables, and if we do this, we begin the journey towards accountable government. These include, but are not limited to, the following. 1, increasing the time available to examine expenditure, rather than using the opportunity for 19 ministers for only a handful of hours across a handful of days. 2, the Speaker or the Deputy Speaker will chair all 7 committees, and this will ensure that all members are given a fair go and committee chairs will be part of the process rather than running the protection racket for the process. And thirdly, I intend to limit the opportunity for Dorothy Dixes as part of this process to ensure that ministers can be scrutinised and can earn their opportunity to show they are across their portfolio brief. The adoption of these and similar reforms would enhance transparency, that would restore public confidence, and above all, it will be the foundation for good government in this state again. Unless the Parliament can perform its proper functions, there is little reason for the public to retain confidence in our institution, and we owe it to them to restore the faith in government. The rule of law is enhanced by the separation of the exercise of the judicial function of government from the two elected branches of government. This has proved to be necessary for the adherence to the rule of law. We cannot be faithful to the rule of law without the elected branches being able to do their proper functions, and the judiciary remains detached from the politics of the day. It is at this point I want to congratulate and thank your society for the good work that you have done over many years, drawing attention to the importance of ensuring that both elected arms of government and the judicature remain in their lanes. It wasn't long ago, in fact the early 1990s, when there was a growing concern in Australia about the rise of the activist judge. And it is vital that we make sure that that separation remains in place. I take this opportunity to affirm my deputy and my party's fundamental belief that conducting ourselves in a way consistent with the values of rule of law. Any deviation from these values that underpin the rule of law must be properly justified and reconciled to the values that buttress that rule of law. The second point I want to talk about, and I want to start by congratulating the Society for its excellent work in the last 12 months, and that is standing up and shining a light on the challenges to the current text and structure of our Constitution. The Australian Constitution, as part of the Australian achievement, has stood the test of time. It blends the Westminster system of responsible government with a written supreme law in a federal compact, the sharing of power between the central government and the states in one indissoluble federal commonwealth under the Crown. The text and structure of our Constitution has stood the test of time. It is flexible enough for the parliaments of the Commonwealth and the states to achieve their policy objectives, but it is rigid enough to not permit any significant distortions in the operation of the Federation. Last year, Australians rejected an ill-thought-out and divisive proposal to distort the way in which the body politic of the Federation operates. Whilst I accept and appreciate that many Australians voted for the voice, I believe then, and continue to believe now, that the voice was a danger to our constitutional fabric, and it was socially divisive. Some of the arguments for and against were at best absurd and at worst dangerous. But I want to unpack the reasons why I was the first state or territory leader to come out against the voice at a time when others would not. I opposed the voice for three reasons. First, the primacy of the Parliament is important. I was unconvinced that the voice wouldn't interfere in the liberty that both the Parliament and the executive government have to perform their proper function. Secondly, I am a Liberal. That is my political philosophy. Philosophically, I believe in liberalism. I believe in building a society where one's religious beliefs and racial heritage are all irrelevant to each citizen's place in that society. I believe in an egalitarian Australian where race is not a defining characteristic. I believe in equality between citizens and equality before the law. I believe that our Constitution should not contain racial distinctions and that there should be constitutional equality for all of us. It would have been a retrograde step for us to go back and create a bundle of rights for one race in the Constitution. Thirdly, and perhaps this is the bit that has been missed most in this debate, I'm an optimist. The voice was, as it was proposed, a device to assist in remedying the gap between Indigenous disadvantage and the opportunities that all other Australians enjoy. I hope that one day the reason the architects of the voice wanted the voice in the first place would disappear and there'd be greater equality of opportunity. I don't think we should be entrenching into the Constitution a body whose implicit purpose is to make itself redundant. Once it was in the Constitution, we would never have gotten rid of it, even when the purpose had come and gone. Over 68% of my fellow Queenslanders, and that's almost 7 in 10, for one reason or another erred on the side of caution and voted no on October 14. They decided that we did not want or need the divisiveness of that change to our nation's founding document. And they all decided what we will, in the fullness of time, be better off keeping that racial distinctions out of the Constitution. It is the job of any senior politician to use their best efforts to unify public opinion and not divide the citizenry. It is also the job of any senior politician to carefully read the room of the electorate. And it is for this reason that it would have been arrogant and wrong of me to not pay careful attention to the lessons learned from the Voice referendum outcome. That is why I have formed the view that there is insufficient public support for any path to treaty process. Any process to continue down that path would have been arrogant and wouldn't be listening to the citizens. And if elected to government later this year, we have said that we will end the process of path to treaty. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be focused on better outcomes, particularly in these remote communities. There are 16 distinct Indigenous communities in this state that have their own council chambers. I've been in every one. And when I go there, I see disadvantage. And rather than use a body that is unelected to drive change, I intend to use ministerial accountability to do that. Things like education and health, and above all, home ownership. I want the people in these communities to be able to own a home so that we can... If you believe in opportunity, you believe in aspiration. And if every person is equal and has no ability to be able to be rewarded for that, we'll consign these communities to a generation of socialism. Thirdly, tonight, I want to articulate a further commitment that I am making to the people of Queensland. It is essential that any government has access to the best, most informed advice that is available. This covers the entire spectrum of government activities, whether it be economic policy, legal reform, social policy initiatives, or industrial and technological advances. What government should not do is impose restraints on its own creativity and productivity by cutting off avenues to knowledge and advice. It is a matter of significant regret that Queensland no longer has access to the advice and expertise of a suitably resourced Productivity Commission. A Productivity Commission would assist in unleashing Queensland's potential and help bring back the fresh ideas so desperately needed. We have lacked such a body for several years, and the results are increasingly obvious. Tonight, I commit to re-establishing a Productivity Commission in Queensland. We need to minimise unnecessary regulatory impulse. We need to encourage creativity, innovation, build a highly skilled public service in the model of Frank Nicklin, and deliver better services for people. Queensland's own Productivity Commission will help us in this significant task. Queensland needs to embrace new ideas and generate growth. With rising cost pressures, productivity is the key to driving the economy, generating growth and maximising potential. Such a commission, a key independent institution, would help restore public confidence in the state's finances, promote innovative ideas and provide government with alternate policy ideas to help overcome the challenges that we live through. While it would remain the prerogative of the government to select those policy choices and meet those priorities, there should be no sounder starting point than a selection of alternatives that serve the interests of the entire state. There is always a need for innovation. An independent commission would not be shackled to pre-existing policy solutions and would be free to pursue the solutions that might otherwise not be considered. That's how you test good government. Such a body cannot function effectively if consumed within the normal structures of government. If we seek independent advice, we should be prepared to receive it debate it and make a decision on it. This is a mature approach to policy making, and it's something that should be embraced. I see this commission as a cornerstone in our policy development process. By encouraging innovation and imaginative thinking, we will gain access to policy alternatives that will be better meet the needs of our growing state. Governments play a fundamental role in the productivity challenge. We tax, we regulate, we spend. Queensland's own productivity will help us with this significant task. To me, service delivery is critical to the success of any state government, and in Queensland that is falling apart. The critical element must always be the people, the public service to serve people and treat taxpayers as customers. In my public career, I've been fortunate enough to have been a local councillor on a city council and then the deputy mayor of that city, a member of the state parliament for almost 3 full terms, and I've had the honour to serve almost 3 years in cabinet. I've had the opportunity to observe the interface between elected representatives and the public service up close. I've also had the opportunity to exercise ministerial authority and the consequential duty to be accountable for the exercise of the authority to Parliament at the ballot box. I am a decentralist, and the first bit of legislation I got to take to a Queensland Parliament handed power away from my desk back to the hands of the 73 mayors and councillors of this state at that time. Because of this experience, my commitment is to restore the values that sustained the public service for many years, values which have been diminished or lost, but which should be the benchmark of our system of government. To this end, I am dedicated to restoring a public service that is empowered in decision-making, free to give fearless and frank advice, helping to rein in the billions of waste that we have seen in Queensland. 2 years ago, Professor Peter Coldrake delivered a report titled Let the Sunshine In. It revealed the challenge that the public service worked under and the pressures that it was being felt by ministerial lack of accountability. I want to read one small section from that report. Public sectors everywhere have been challenged by enormous changes in the external operating environment. That of Queensland has been buffeted by the collective disruptions of frequent machinery of government changes, decapitations of the public service leadership, the increasing influence of ministerial advisors, and the loss of talent to the outside world. The unsteadiness of the public sector, and particularly the public service within it, has contributed to an atmosphere of fear. It is my intention to see the creation of a public service that serves. Our 7-point plan includes the following: establishing an independent public sector commission, setting clear goals and KPIs so ministers and directors general are held accountable, reviewing the internal complaints procedure to restore integrity, independence and procedural fairness, enhancing graduate programs and opportunities that used to happen in eras gone by, requiring all contracts and consultancies to include a substantial training and professional development component to build capability, provide training and professional development to ensure that Queensland can drive down cost of living pressures and service delivery failures. As I've said earlier this evening, I'm a strong believer in the Westminster system of responsible government. I believe in the history and heritage of this system, and I admire the dynamism in which it evolves to meet the challenges of the day. Central to this is the restoration of the principle of ministerial accountability and responsibility. A culture whereby ministers have not taken responsibility or not been held accountable is contrary to everything I believe. People need to have confidence in their government, not in a political sense, but in the sense that governments follow processes, and that people can understand and accept the decisions whether they believe in them or not. The most important way of promoting this is to restore the principles which were held in high regard for so long. Making ministers take ownership of their decisions is critical for this to occur. It will promote more considered decision-making and more responsive administration. The proposals I have outlined will enhance our system of government, it will reactivate our public service, and it will make our parliament more effective and responsive to the needs of the population. The issue is not whether we should introduce such reforms, it's how can we afford not to. Fourth, as I've said at the outset, now is not the opportunity for me to critique the incumbent state government for its issues. I'll have more to say on that on other occasions. I respect the party political neutrality of this society, and at the same time I'm very conscious of your commitment to preserving the Australian Constitution and its structural integrity. We are committed to honouring the things in our history that have enhanced our society. They are the things that have created the people we have become. We should embrace our history. We have acknowledged, and we must acknowledge, it's not always been perfect, but let it show the way to becoming an even better community rather than being bogged in the past. We will always pursue the right priority. These may change as circumstances change, but they will be anchored in the foundations that have helped make the society we have become today. This will be central to any government that I lead. You will not see the pursuit of policies that do not improve the circumstances of Queensland. You will not see the pursuit of policies designed simply to curry favour with sectional interests or merely waste time for wedge politics against the opposition, which we are seeing regularly. What you will see are policies which serve the interests of the entire community. Central to this will be our respect for institutions which have served us well. This is not to say that we will oppose sensible reform. Indeed, we will promote these reforms that enhance the performance and reputation of these institutions. You may have heard in the last week and again today, my deputy has recommitted to naming of the Cross River Rail in Brisbane as the Elizabeth Line. It pays tribute to a sovereign who served her people with dedication, commitment and genuine interest for so many years. It respects and honours an individual and an institution. It is a fitting tribute and one which is worthy of support. By pursuing the right priorities, we will ensure a better future for Queensland, a Queensland of which we can all be proud and which those from other states can be envious, particularly Victoria. Ladies and gentlemen, I finish where I begin. Congratulations to the Samuel Griffith Society for all the good work it has done for many years now. And I thank the Society for bringing the 2024 annual conference to Queensland. I want to thank your Society's President, another great Queenslander, former High Court Judge, the Honourable Ian Callanan, for his leadership of the Society for so many years now. I congratulate Judge Callanan on concluding his lengthy presidency, and I wish his successor, the distinguished member of the Bar, Alan Myers KC, all the best for his presidency. I thank the Society for its kind invitation for me to speak tonight, and I reaffirm my commitment to those institutions that have helped create a nation that every single Australian should be proud of. Thank you and God bless you all.